Heavyweight boxing champion Tyson Fury is revealing details of when he'd love to scrap against Francis Ngannou, while Jorge Masvidal talks about the origins of his hatred for Colby. But first, let's talk about Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar compares bosses Vince McMahon and Dana White and believes he should have got more money from the UFC. Brock Lesnar is a global superstar that occupies that rare space in the athletic world. He's an incredible performer for the WWE, a fan favorite who has great microphone skills and can do all the things necessary to make a compelling match and storyline. But he's also a world-class athlete who has beaten some legends in the MMA world and even captured the UFC heavyweight title. He's a fan favorite in this world as well and showed his true grit, toughness, and superior wrestling to win a title in real fighting. So when he was on the Pat McAfee show recently for a 50-minute interview, the boys on the show made sure to ask him some questions that dealt with both worlds. The first was from Super Bowl champion AJ Hawk, who asked Brock what Dana White is like. This is what Brock had to say.
Yeah, Dana's all right. I mean, he's paid. I've got a lot of money from him. You know,
you made a lot of money for him.
Probably. I probably should have got paid more, maybe.
Well, that's a big conversation around
the boys on the show asked Brock about his relationship with Vince McMahon versus his relationship with Dana White. You gotta hand it to Brock here. He's very honest and said what he felt. He revealed that you can't really compare the two, especially because Brock worked with Vince when he was much younger, and that the two have worked together for about 20 years where they've had tons of ups and downs. He went on to say this.
But you know, things dealing with Dana and it's just a totally different.
You met
business
Vince when you were younger.
I met Vince when I was younger. I look at Vince more as a father figure, actually, you know, because I've learned a lot of things from him, and I was able to carry those things over and handle business with Dana. Vince is a self-made person. So is Dana. You know, took the company and made it public and made it.
Brock isn't the only person to say this about McMahon, as the WWE boss is looked up to by quite a number of pro wrestlers, but is also hated by many others. Still, Brock learned a lot from the business side of pro wrestling that he carried over to the world of MMA and was able to make quite a bit of coin fighting in the octagon. What are your thoughts on Brock Lesnar's comments here? Let us know in the comments below. 2. The origins of the Jorge Masvidal Colby Covington explained by Gamebred. There's just so much beef between Jorge Masvidal and Colby Covington that many people believe it all started when Chaos simply did not pay one of Masvidal's coaches following a fight. That's actually part of the story. The two welterweights are set to meet on March 5th at UFC 272 in a rare, non-title 5-round main event. The fight was so big, the UFC moved the featherweight and bantamweight title fights 1 month back just to accommodate this massive bout. But now, Masvidal is adding a bit more to the grudge match by detailing some of the events that led to the bad blood between the two. Firstly, Masvidal had already known that Colby was a, quote, bad seed and was changing as time went on. The two were best friends, but the writing was on the wall about Colby, according to Masvidal. In a recent interview with MMA Junkie, Masvidal said this about how the beef from his side started.
You know, this guy's interesting. You know, with John Jones, he had numerous situations. Would always talk bad about John Jones. Woodley, I was there for the whole thing. So the John Jones, I wasn't there in college with him, but the whole Woodley thing, I was. Woodley brought him out. He was giving him like $1,000 a week, something crazy like that, when this guy was an amateur, just to train with him for 4 weeks. Sponsors, food. And then he came back just talking shit about Woodley, like in a negative way, like, man, I would beat Woodley in a fight, I'm this, I'm that. I'm like, but negative. Not that he's like, man, I got more cardio than him, I got better technical, I do good against Woodley, I could beat him. No. Just talking bad, saying what a piece of crap he was, how many this and how many that, and all this nonsense that didn't need to be said. So I was like, man, if this guy's going around talking about everybody like that, that's just who he is, you know? Yeah. There's like nobody that he respects whatsoever.
Later in the interview, Masvidal details about how he was already separating himself from Colby, but when Chaos refused to pay Masvidal's striking coach, it was the last straw. Since then, Colby had a heel turn, talking all kinds of crap, and was later kicked out of his longtime MMA home, American Top Team. Now, The two are set to square off in a highly anticipated fight that will have the whole world on their feet. What do you think about Masvidal's comments on how this whole thing began? And what are your predictions for how this fight would turn out? Let us know in the comments. Before we get to our next story, take a second to smash the like button and subscribe to the channel to stay up to date on the latest fight news. Now with that being said, let's get going. 3. Tyson Fury targets early 2022 small glove boxing match against Francis Ngannou. For all the talk that Francis Ngannou has been doing about his next potential contract with the UFC, he's been quite adamant that he wants to fight boxing. For him, it's not only about the money. Sure, he wants more greenbacks just like any other person, but Ngannou and his agent have repeatedly stated that they've been looking for not only more fights on an annual basis, but to be given a chance to fight the best boxers in the world in a professional match. And who could blame him? Boxers make an incredible amount of money compared to MMA fighters, especially at the elite level. Prior to the heavyweight title unification fight against Cyril Gane in January, Ngannou said he was making $600,000, a figure that is lower than Mark Hunt made just a few years ago, and he wasn't fighting for a title when he took on Brock Lesnar. When heavyweight boxing champion Tyson Fury heard that Ngannou wanted to fight boxing, he jumped at the chance to stoke the social media fires and posted this on Twitter, a fight poster of him and Ngannou with the caption that read, "Who would like to see me fight this beast? Boxing rules in the UFC gloves." Now, Fury is revealing a bit more about his vision for how this whole thing would play out. Firstly, Fury says he needs to get past his boxing commitments this year and beat the mandatory challenger for his WBC heavyweight title in Dillian Whyte sometime in the next few months. If Fury wins, he'd also likely take on the winner of the Anthony Joshua-Alexander rematch later this year. Then, Ngannou would need to get healthy as he plans to get surgery to repair a damaged knee. Reports say Ngannou would likely be about 9 months, including rehab, putting his timetable to come back to fighting somewhere around early 2022. That's perfect for Fury because in a recent interview with the Manchester Evening News, he said this to the reporter: "I'm going to fight Francis Ngannou in Las Vegas next year, in March or February. There's been no talks this year because I've got some boxing to do. But next year, we can have some crazy fights. It's a massive fight. I believe it breaks all pay-per-view records in the United States. 2 heavyweight champions going head-to-head." Then, in a separate interview with Gareth Davis, Fury was asked whether he would consider fighting in 4-ounce MMA gloves instead of the 10-ounce boxing gloves. And not only did he say yes, but he outlines his reasoning. This is what he said.
I think it would be more tasty and appealing if it had a twist, not just a conventional boxing match, because he's probably got zero chance of beating me unless he knocks me back out one punch. So I think maybe in a cage, maybe in small gloves, or maybe without gloves.
How about that for a banger of a boxing fight? This is all talk at this point, and Dana White, the UFC, has yet to publicly talk about a potential fight between Ngannou and Fury, though he never liked the idea of fighters competing in striking bouts outside the UFC. The lone exception was the Conor McGregor-Floyd Mayweather fight. But what do you think about Tyson Fury proposing a date and location for the fight? And what about the fact that this could be in small gloves? And, in a perfect world where this actually happens, who do you think would win the fight? Let us know in the comments. There's always so much going on in the fight world, and we've got it here for you on MMA Rumor. Subscribe to the channel, like this video, and hit the notification bell to keep updated on all things MMA. Thanks for watching.